This week, we're discussing the greatest risks in our community. And for our community, I think the biggest risk is not necessarily uneducated firefighters, but the lack of quality, effective training. In the state of Oklahoma, a minimum of 40 hours a year is required for volunteer firefighters, and 120 hours are required for career firefighters. The struggle that we have is not so much the amount of training that's required, but as mentioned, the quality effective training based on the individual needs of each department and the areas that they cover. For our department, we run nearly 70% medical calls, and of the 30 remaining percent, over 50% of that is wildland firefighting. Most of our core training in the firefighter classes, and firefighter one, firefighter two, tactics and strategies, a lot of those focus on the structure fires. In our region, only 4% of our total call volume are structure fire related calls. Looking, outside looking in, you'd think that medical call training should be the top priority. But if we get into a hazardous situation, such as a structure fire or even a hazardous materials fire or a wildland fire, and one of our firefighters gets injured or killed, we've let down numerous people along with our community, our family, our friends, our station. Um, so looking at it, it's I think one of the greatest risks is just not having the quality, effective training to be provided to each individual department to be able to break it up and allow the time for that training, and finding the right things to train on is the hardest part, because as a volunteer department, ample amount of time to be able to complete the training. We do have a Council on Firefighter Training website that kind of helps to regulate our training regimens. There's 4 or 5 different levels of firefighting, and they all entail specific firefighting skills required for the state of Oklahoma, including your wildfire tactics and strategies, your structure fires, your hazardous material operations, your emergency responder. And to obtain your different levels, you've got basic, intermediate, advanced, and master firefighter levels. Each of those levels require certain certificates, whether it be a master firefighter, which is the highest level of firefighter in the state of Oklahoma, requires your firefighter 2 or greater, your EMT basic or greater, and then of course all of your wildland fire training and everything that comes along with your emergency response, as well as your hazardous materials. So the training is out there. It's just finding the ability to get it effective for each individual organization to what it should pertain to in that specific area that they cover. We do have, like I mentioned, the Council on Firefighter Training. They do offer incentives, such as tax breaks, for firefighters that are willing to go get educated on what they need to get educated on. Um, and it's free to the volunteer side. They receive yearly grants, which are put in place to allow the volunteer firefighters to get trained, um, which again will help. But as volunteer firefighters, we all have our day jobs, and this is our part-time job that requires a lot more of us sometimes than even our regular jobs do. So finding the time and ability to get trained on what each department needs its members to be trained on, I think, is the greatest risk. It poses a lot of threats to the community that we serve, our organization. If our firefighters are uneducated, to the extent of what we're going to deal with that day, and somebody gets injured or killed, then it's really going to cause an updraft of bad publicity because they didn't receive the proper training or the effective training. So I think the thing that our organization needs to focus on the most is how we can take our statistics and utilize them to focus on quality, effective training, and enable us to better serve our community and to better complete our mission at hand.